All right. All right. Good evening, everybody. This is the May 20th meeting for the Conservation Commission, 2026. I'm going to call the meeting to order. We have tonight Laura Rodriguez, Paul Pribula, Allie is here, and let's see, Jackie Kulig. Bob is excused, Nora's excused. I don't know if Heather's going to join us or Patty. And so is Tessa. Tessa is also excused tonight. Those folks told me they were not coming. So let's see. Allie, we're going to seat you tonight. We can seat you somebody want to make a motion to seat her for Nora or Tessa? Oh, here's Heather. She's coming in. Can I hear a motion to seat Allie?
I'll make a motion to seat Allie.
Okay, is here a second? For who, Laura?
I second.
Who do you think? For Nora?
Nora. I'm
Okay.
pretty sure Nora's not going to come.
Okay.
Okay, and you'll second, Paul? Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? Abstained, so moved. Okay,
Kathy, it appears that Luke has his hand raised.
oh, thank you. Go ahead, Luke. You can unmute yourself and can I help you?
You did, yeah.
Luke?
He is, oh.
Yeah. Hi, Luke. Can you hear us? Hi, Luke. Can you hear us? Your hand's raised. You're welcome to speak if you need to. Hello, Luke? Okay. Oh, we'll keep going here. Approval of the minutes. Can I hear a motion? Go
I
ahead,
thought
Laura.
I'm sorry, I thought he just connected to audio and then it looked like you were connecting to audio and then you muted yourself.
Oh,
There, I think you might be good. Go ahead and talk.
yay. Okay, go ahead.
I have a question for you. Is Erica coming tonight?
Erica, who?
Erica Washensky?
Yes.
I
No.
don't think so.
No. No, were you hoping to talk to her? Okay, I think this is going to be a little bit awkward here. I think we're going to have to keep going. Approval of minutes of 4/15/2026. Do I hear a motion, please?
I move to approve.
Okay, do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion? I can tell you that Bob Shabbat had asked me to change under town's 300th anniversary item. He said it was not the Historical Society that had suggested having a brass plaque made. It was actually the 300th Anniversary Committee. So if you want to make that change, Laura.
So it was under, I'm sorry, the town.
Yeah, the Collaborative Organizational News and Communication is on page 4.
Okay.
And town's 300th anniversary. So it should be changed to the 300th Anniversary Committee will have a brass plaque made, not the Historical Society. Okay. Any other comments or changes that need to be done? All right. Hearing none, all in favor of approving the minutes, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Anybody want to abstain? Okay, thank you. So moved on that. And then we have minutes from our site walk on Thursday, April 23rd.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes from our site walks. Can I do both the 23rd and the 25th together?
Yes, you can. Go
Okay,
ahead.
so make a motion to accept the minutes from the special meeting site walks of April 23rd and 25th.
Okay, do I hear a second on that? I'll second it because I was at both. Any other comments? All right. Everyone who wants to approve, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any abstention, excuse me, any opposition? Any abstentions? So moved. Okay, thank you on those minutes. Present to speak. Is anyone present to speak tonight? You can raise your hand if you need to speak tonight. Okay, hearing nothing at this point. Moving on to finance. Tessa's not here today, but I can report that our current balance as encumbered. There's a few bills that we haven't paid yet, but as encumbered is $691.12 on the balance. That's $691.12, Laura.
I was all ready for you.
All right, awesome. Thank you. Okay, under old business, going to property management, Fenton Ruby Park and Preserve, Stewart's report. Chris and I went out and cut up about 6 trees that were on the Ruby Trail. We also fixed a loose board that was on the bridge over the stream that's between Ruby and Taylor Trails. Let's see. The Girl Scouts are going to be planting some annuals in the pollinator garden soon. And one of the things I just wanted to ask is if, I don't know if they're going to be able to water them regularly, but if somebody is interested perhaps in at least stopping by if it's been really dry once a week and maybe taking a bucket and getting some water out of the pond to water things. Would anybody be willing to do that this summer? Okay.
I can. It's Heather. Sorry, my video is acting up because of my connection. So,
Oh, sure.
Yeah, I
Okay,
can also,
yeah,
I
if
can
it's
also
dry,
help.
I can stop by.
Oh, thank you. You know, especially if you're already at the park, you know, Ally, I know sometimes you walk with Patty.
Yeah,
Yeah, if you could, you know, just bring a bucket and if it's dry, you know, just pull some water out of the pond to water them. That would be lovely. Thank you.
you're welcome.
Okay. Let's see. One of the things that we did on our site walk to the park is we talked about the VFW's request to have a memorial tree planted in the picnic area. That was on the 25th, and Tessa, Laura, Heather, and Paul and I were there. We talked about whether or not it was feasible to do that. Does anybody else besides myself want to talk about some of our observations that day?
I can. Who else
Yeah.
was there?
Laura, Tessa, myself, and Paul, you were with us, right?
Yes. Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So go ahead, Heather.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I mean, you mean specifically the tree memorial or just in general?
Well, I think to speak to the request that the VFW made at this point, you know.
Yeah, so we really looked quite in depth as far as locations and the feasibility of it, the logistics of it, the impact it may have as far as creating a trend of memorial trees. And we came to a conclusion like the ideal spot would be probably the picnic area, but at the same time, it's not ideal in that we have those 2 chestnuts that need room to crown out. We're close to the river there, and that needs to be clear. Public Works requested no trees along that empty space where we want that riparian buffer. And yeah, anything further in the woods would need to be watered, the care for that. So in the end, we were leaning towards declining on that. Because any trees like closer to the parking lot would potentially shade the pollinator garden unless it was specifically, like a shorter growing shrub type tree. But I think my impression that we all had was our biggest concern was creating like opening up the door for more memorial things like that. Does everybody remember? Is that what we finalized?
I would agree with that. The
Me
biggest
too.
be one tree, fine, but
Yeah.
there's not enough room if a lot of people wanted to do the same thing.
Right. And like, the closest location, like the parking lot where people might want to visit something like that. It's again, those chestnuts need room to crown out and, we want to preserve the pollinator garden by not shading it, keeping that open space and successional stuff along the edge. Unless someone wants to volunteer and brush hog the multiflora rose and brambles.
Yeah. I would agree that that's kind of the conclusion we came to. We would like, we certainly respect what the veterans have done and but we just did not feel that it was appropriate to put a memorial tree in the picnic area at this point, regardless of who would be asking. So if somebody wants to make a motion, I can get back to Mr. Degata and just speak
I
to him.
will add quickly, I did talk to Parks and Rec about, how we thought maybe giving an alternative location of River Road and along the track. And she said that it wasn't something they were interested in doing because they'd have to have management of the leaves in the fall with landscaping and grounds and they just weren't open to it.
Yeah.
And they have memorial benches around. I don't know. So yes, it should go back to Ed.
Okay. Is that everybody in agreement on that? We can take a vote that we were going to make a motion that we decline accepting their offer to plant a memorial tree at the park. If somebody wants to word it differently, I'm open to that as well.
Hold on. I'm trying to get it, but I was typing so I could then make a motion for you. All right. So I will make a motion to not accept the offer from the VFW to plant a memorial tree because we do not feel it is an appropriate. There is not an appropriate place at Fenton Ruby Park. Does that sound okay?
That sounds fine to me. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed? Abstentions? So moved. Okay. All right, so this person, let's see, let me just carry on here. Getting a lot of wanting to be readmitted from this gentleman that's here tonight. Let's see, going on to park management plan. Laura, you and Tessa had been working on that and you did send me a draft of where you were at. But I did not send that out to the rest of the commission yet because I thought maybe it would be better to wait until our June meeting to discuss it and that we can send that out, after this meeting. Is that okay?
That's fine. Yeah, that's fine. I got it to you just this week, and so I knew it was too late for us to discuss at this meeting. And it's something that Tessa and I would like everybody. The idea is we well, Tessa set out the whole thing and she already talked to the group about it. And then she did more. And then we met. And since she knew she was going to be up in the Adirondacks for May, she kind of then passed it to me to go through it, add, revise, whatever. And the idea is we wanted to give everyone something to work with. So it's a very rough draft. It's for people to read through and decide, is this the format that you would like? And then also look at the what content we filled in. There's not all the content is in there. And one piece that is still missing, which Tessa just gave me a paper copy, I not a digital file of a table that we would like to go with it, which is the literal, like, here is the goal and then the objective and the strategy. So here's that. And then in the table, you can talk about, like when it should be done or when it's done. So it's a working document. And I just honestly didn't have time
Oh,
to
sure.
recreate it. She just had a sample one page. So I would like to make that actually going along with all the goals and objectives within the park plan. But that piece might be better just to wait until we get feedback from everybody to begin with, because I hate to do work that is then not needed.
Yeah,
You
yeah, it
know.
sounds like it's a summary page of all of the goals and objectives, and then
Yeah,
they can all be together.
right. And it's kind of a page you go to. So as it's like, oh, okay, like we did that in the fall of 26. So we can, write that in. That was done in fall 26. Probably the next time we need to look at that, maybe in 5 years or whatever.
Yeah.
So I thought I had a copy of it in front of me so I could speak from it, but I can't find it. So
Oh, no,
um
that sounds like a good plan. I mean, it's very comparable to what the town does when they do the plan of conservation and development. So each section has goals and objectives, but then they're all compiled at the end,
mhm.
like a summary. And so it's very easy to kind of go through and see which, what you're responsible for. And you know, it you don't check it off as you're going. We certainly can do that with what you're
certain
putting together.
certain things yeah, other things are ongoing, but yeah, exactly, the responsibility piece, right, you can see.
So one of the things I think is going to be a little challenging, I mean, the document that you guys came up with so far without the maps is 17 pages.
Yeah.
So, people can look at it online. How would you like them to give you feedback about it? Because we've got multiple people that'll be looking at it. So if they're reading it and they're online reading it, do you want them to mark it up in red and then send back that copy to you, or how would you prefer to get feedback?
I think when we're looking at this many people giving feedback, for me, I would actually prefer a separate Word document where you just say, page number, just point me to where it is that you think something should be changed. Because yeah, if you try to do track changes or even red, and then you're reading through 7 or 8, you have to
Mm.
go through the whole thing to look for where the changes are.
Yeah.
So, one person might only have 1 or 2 things in a certain section, and somebody else in a different section, it would be, for me, I would prefer just like a Word or a Google Doc or something. Just um, I'm pretty sure I put page numbers on it. So yeah, page
Okay, so
number.
just page, paragraph kind of thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
With some feedback about that
With
particular.
whatever it is you wanted to say. Yeah.
Okay. So I will send that out to everybody, tonight or tomorrow. So you'll have a month basically to look it over. There's a potential for us to have an in-person meeting in June. So, I could always make some copies for us to go through that night, but I think that would also be kind of challenging. And I know most people aren't going to want to print out 18 or 17 or 18 pages out of their printer, but I mean, that's an option. The other alternative would be for me to ask the land use department to print out multiple copies that people could pick up. If you prefer to read it on paper. So, if people prefer to read it on paper, let me know, and I can just ask the secretary there to print them out and leave them for us in the copy room or something. So, all right. Next, Pettit Sanctuary access. So the other thing we looked at when we did our site walk is we walked up to the Pettit's property. We went up through the Ruby Trail, and we broke off in the woods. There's I call it a herd path that people have made that's not an official trail to walk up to get at the corner of Burma Road and Amadon Road is where it ends up coming out. And we looked at that and we talked about whether or not we should actually establish a trail or not there, like officially establish a trail. And I believe the consensus we came to was that we did not believe that we should put any official trail there. That there was access through Burma Road. People could walk from the parking lot all the way up to the Pettit's property using the old Burma Road, and that we did not want to establish a new trail. Would the folks that were on that site walk agree that's what we came to the conclusion?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So we're not going to establish any new trail. I know Paul had a question. He's been working on the Connecticut Trail Finders. Paul, why don't you talk about GPSing all the trails in Fenton Ruby and the questions you had about how we would identify a path of sorts to the Pettit's property in the event of an emergency, because you're working with the Tallinn 911 as well.
Well, yes. So I'm doing the mapping both for Connecticut Trail Finder and for Tallinn County 911, whatever. So it seems like the best thing to do would be to mark the trailhead for the Ruby Trail as also the trail start for the Pettit's property, and run the trail along Burma Road to where the sign is for the Pettit's property. That seems simplest, and it seems like it would be the most clear to Tallinn County 911. Also, I think it would be most clear to a hiker who would be looking at Connecticut Trail Finder. So I'd say we just mark that section of Burma Road as the Pettit's access trail.
Okay, are you talking about blazing it as well, or just putting it on a map, because it won't be blazed unless we blaze it?
So, okay, that's a good question. To make it clear for someone who's there, it might be best to blaze it.
Mhm.
I mean, we would just be
Um,
blazing the Burma Trail, right? Burma Road. You'd just be blazing that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
How do people feel about that, blazing that? The blazes could be separated pretty far apart because you can see up that road pretty easily. It's not tricky.
I think it's fine, especially if it's on the Connecticut Trail map, and if we redo the maps for our site and the kiosk, because then it's very clear that that is the trail to the Pettit's property, and we're not creating new ones or encouraging the herd trail.
Mm-hmm. Let me, I'm gonna quickly just open up, if I can get to it quickly. I'm not sure. I'm on a different computer tonight. I'm not sure I have everything here, but let me see if I can open up the Fenton Ruby and I can share it. Hang on a second. The map, so we can kind of look at the current map. Let's see. I have a lot of documents, guys. Okay, let's try this one. And then I'll share my screen. Let's see if it comes up. Okay, hang on a second. I just gotta make this a little smaller so I can actually share my screen. Let's see here. Oh. Okay, can you see this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So the suggestion then, here's the Ruby Trail. Can you see my cursor?
Yep.
Okay, so we're talking about marking this trail here up the marking the old Burma Road as a trail to get up to the Pettix. This is the Pettix right here. This is
Yeah.
actually an old map. I have a newer map that Jackie made that has the Pettix property shown here in green. But basically, that's what we're talking about, right? Blazing this.
Yeah, blazing that. I mean,
Yeah.
you know,
Do we want to blaze it all the way up to the sign is probably about here somewhere on the property?
That sounds like that makes sense.
yeah, especially for emergency vehicles, but also, or emergency response, but just for people to be clear that that's the trail to Pettix and not any other.
Herd
You know.
path?
Yeah,
This is where
exactly.
the herd path was going
Yeah.
from this part of the Ruby basically to this point here.
Yeah, and if we just don't put that on a map, I mean, people are still going to do it, but let's not blaze it or map it.
Yeah. All right, so we would create this on the map as a trail, and then we would mark it, we would blaze it. What color? Does it matter? Let's see what Jackie, you've been making these maps. What color would you advise here that's going to show up?
I can't see the map, so I don't remember what colors I already have. But
Oh.
yeah, whatever you guys want to do.
Okay. There's yellow, green, blue, red, and white.
Orange
Are
or
there any
purple?
purple?
Orange or purple?
Orange or purple?
Purple for Pettix. I don't know.
Oh, I like that.
I forget if those were based on the blaze colors. Do you know if it matches the blaze colors? And
Say
can we
that
get
again?
purple pink?
Oh,
Does
well,
it match the symbols on my map? I forget if they match the blaze colors on the trails.
yes, they do. Yeah.
Okay.
The
So
only
yeah, as
problem
long
with
as we can get purple paint.
yeah, that's a good point. The other thing is on this map that you can't see right now, the stream, the Fenton River, and also the pond are kind of a purplish blue.
Mhm.
Maybe orange would be better, and it would be easier to get orange paint.
Yeah.
Might be easier to see as blazes too.
Yeah, I mean, orange paint is ubiquitous, so that wouldn't be an issue.
Yeah. Okay.
Except make it clear that it's not trees for harvest.
Yeah, that would be good. Unless, yeah, I'm just trying to think of any other colors.
You could do pink.
Pink, pink. Well, it's not critical, I guess. Can think on that. At this point, when would we do this? We'd have to blaze it. And Paul, when you were GPSing things, did you GPS the Burma Road at all?
I did not.
Okay.
I'd go back and do that. It won't take long.
Right, right.
The only thing I'd say is that because I'd want to tell Talon County 911, I want to be sure that I'm telling them the right color.
Mm-hmm. Do you guys want to go with orange? I don't think we're going to have a problem with tree cutting because we're not going to have anybody out there.
Yeah, I think orange sounds good.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
I was being facetious, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay, sounds good. All right, and then we'll have a painting party at some point. So So is, in terms of our discussion today, does somebody want to make a motion about establishing a new trail? Or establishing the Burma Road as the trail?
Okay, I move that we establish Burma Road from the Ruby Trail trailhead to the Petix property as the official Petix access trail.
Okay. Do we want to name it the Petix Trail? Does that make sense?
Makes sense. It's true.
Yeah, I think so. If you're blazing it, then that would be its name.
Yeah, makes sense, I think.
Okay. All right. So once we do that,
Consistent with the names of the other trails.
Right.
yes. Yep, the Drobny Trail, the Weigold Trail, that makes sense. So we're gonna have to change the maps that are in the kiosk. We're gonna, the trailhead maps, on every trailhead right now, there's a map that Mark made. A metal map. Do you know what I'm talking about, right? The ones
Yeah.
that he,
Yeah.
Is there room on there to add it, or do we have to start a new one?
that's a good question. I can talk to Mark and see if
Okay.
there's some way to mark that. That's a great question, Heather, because it's very possible that Burma Road, because I can't remember exactly what the map looks like, but it's already on there. So
We need a second.
thank you, Laura. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay, any more discussion?
Sorry, who was that?
Ally, I think?
That was Allie. Yeah.
Sally. Okay.
Okay. So, and Paul, just would you be willing to make a little bit of a adjustment on that motion to add and to name it the Petix Trail?
Sure.
Okay.
I'll still second it.
Okay. Thanks, Ally.
Okay, got it.
A friendly amendment. So, Laura, you good with that in terms
I-
of a motion?
I've got it. An emotion by Paul and Ally to establish Burma Road from the Ruby Trailhead to the Petix property as the official Petix access trail and name it the Petix Trail. Does that sound
Okay.
right?
I would say the Petix property access.
Petix property access. Got it.
Access, yeah. Or Petix Sanctuary. Let's put it that way. Petix Sanctuary Access Trail and name it the Petix Trail. Is everyone comfortable with that rewording?
Yep.
Okay. All in favor? Say aye.
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 Hi.
Opposed? Abstained? Okay, so moved. Thank you. All right, moving on. The other thing that we looked at while we were out at Benton Ruby was the idea of establishing more of a riparian buffer at the end of the picnic area that slopes down toward Fenton River. There's a potential opportunity with the Natchog Watershed Advisory Board to create a natural buffer there. And at least, unfortunately, there's been a lot of mowing down in that lower part. Through the years, the people that are contracted to mow the park, they mow all the way down to where the stone wall is in the picnic area. And then on the other side, Public Works is mowing that area and kind of keeping it very open so that the edge of the river is very open. And we discussed that we would not want to put any large vegetation there, so not things that are very large shrubs or trees, but something perhaps more that would be small shrubs, or even just try to leave it be more of a meadow-like situation there. The folks that
There are some great small shrub options that
native shrubs.
Yeah, of native shrubs that would be low growing there, but are excellent for the soil integrity and erosion control. I have a few that I use here, but yeah.
Okay. So generally, the concept people were in agreement with when we were out there that probably it would be beneficial for the river if we had more of a riparian buffer there. So in terms of the details about what that would look like, we can work on that going forward. And if we want to do it in concert with the Natchog Watershed Group, because they have funding to be able to purchase the plants and get some volunteers as well to help to establish it. So we can work on that. Sounds like, does anybody want to make a motion in terms of working toward establishing a riparian buffer in that area?
I was wondering if Public Works has been informed not to mow, maybe we could see just what comes up naturally before trying to do any planting.
That's a possibility too, Jackie. Yeah,
And see what's in the seed bank there
yeah.
and fill in with, other things if we want.
Yeah.
I'm
I
guessing
mean,
there would have to be some invasive removal, but I would guess that there would be some natives mixed in already. Could just thin out the invasives.
I think if we do that, we'll have to mark an area so that we might have to put stakes up or something so the people that are contracted to mow would know not to mow there, and also Public Works. So that's, that's definitely a possibility, but I think we're going to have to mark it with stakes or something.
I think that's doable. Also, we can do, some seed collection of some of the natives that are right there in the area just to encourage them to grow in that space as well.
Mhm. That's a good idea, Heather. I know you were working on that whole concept of seed collection too. Were there some particular plants that you're thinking of in general, native plants?
Eupatypur, like Joe Pye weed, that definitely comes to mind. Some of the long stem grasses, like, little blue stem and things like that, we can encourage there. And I can get seeds. Like I work with Pete Picone at Deep, and he's more than happy to give me native seeds to spread around in the world. So, but I have a list. And I actually
Okay.
have some, and I'm trying to grow some to then collect more seeds too. So, but it's something we could think about in the fall to do some seed collection that we can move. Obviously milkweed, swamp milkweed, those things would be great. Anything like that.
So
would be
making
nice.
it more like a meadow is what you're saying.
Yeah, meadowscaping, but it would. But we can also do like sweet pepper bush grows low and wonderful for erosion. There might even be some
How high,
already.
how low does the vegetation have to be? Could we have like a tall shrub?
Yeah, I
Or
think
do
it's
they-
Public Works, their concern is more like if you grow something large over time, like a tree, and if the tree falls into the river, it could get stuck in the culvert.
Which
Because
it's a problem. Yeah, that there's a culvert further down right before Liska Road that has it gets clogged pretty easily. And I know last year they were taking some big trees remnants that had fallen down there, and it was quite the operation. It gets really kind of messed up. So they're trying not to encourage larger trees, but shrubs would be fine.
What about some of the shrubbier willows? Those get, 15 feet tall, but they don't ever become trees.
Yeah, I don't know.
well,
But
let's
but we might have to like think about the integrity of that retaining wall if those willows are too near it, those root systems. I don't know. That's a good question though, Jackie.
so maybe we can have another look at it later this summer or early fall and come up with a plan there. I think tonight, as long as we're all in agreement that it would be in the best interest of the water course to establish a riparian buffer, you know, we can ask them now not to do any mowing and kind of see what's happening there. If that's what you'd like to do, we can put some stakes up.
One thing that I can suggest
Mm.
as a way of nudging this through Public Works is I can easily make this like an MS4 kind of thing as a part of our MS4 plan and be like, hey, this will help us with our mandate. So I can make that happen.
That would be
Anything I
great,
can
Heather.
would be. But yeah, if there's any resistance on that side, I can push back with, hey, this would be good for our MS4 plan that we're supposed to be complying with.
Yeah, no, that's
Okay.
great. Make it a kind of a model.
Yeah, exactly. And that would be, a great spot to do it and get Public Works on board to kind of follow that.
Yep. So one of the things, I will not be that available this summer. I'm just wondering if anybody would be willing to get out there with maybe another person and look at where we could put some, a few stakes in. I can certainly talk to Public Works about it, and I know you can, obviously, Heather, as well. But if somebody's willing to go out there and put some stakes out, that would be helpful.
Yeah, if someone wants to team up with me, I'd be more than happy to do that. Also, we had discussed leaving a little area for fishing access.
Mhm,
So think about that in our staking out.
mhm.
Because did you say, I'm trying to remember that day. Did you say that Natchog would like give us aggregate or something that we could put there to like make it, or was that just something that we were thinking, for where people would stand in like a specific spot for fishing instead of anywhere?
Yeah. Well, at least with like a meadow, if you're going to have shrubs coming up there, obviously it's going to be hard for anybody to try to fish in that area.
Right, right.
But if you had like a small spot that you designated, I'm not quite sure, 6-8 foot opening or
Yeah,
less.
so in a way
Yeah.
that kind of like targets, hey, this is where, we passively encourage people to go stand there versus just
Mhm.
tromping around anywhere.
Yeah.
And the shrubs we could plant strategically that way too.
Mhm. That's a good thought. Jackie, I saw you light up there for a minute. Did you want to say something?
Oh, no, must have just been my phone. Sorry.
Okay, no worries. Okay, any other comments or thoughts on this? Is anybody willing to work with Heather on it? Again, there's no urgency here, but
Yeah, I can.
okay, thanks, Paul. All
Sure.
right,
I'm
Thanks.
close, so.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
awesome. All right, hang on.
Do we need a motion
Um,
or
Do we-
no?
I'm
Further
not
comment buffer,
yeah.
or we're
Yeah. Does somebody want to make a motion that we are going to work toward installing a riparian buffer? I can make the motion that we're going to work on establishing a riparian buffer along the Fenton River adjacent to the picnic area. Here a second.
I'll second.
Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Opposed? Abstained? Okay, so moved. Thank you. All right, Knowlton Preserve, Talmadge Conservation Track. I just wanted to report that we found some vandalism. Kids had spray paint, I'm assuming it's kids, had spray painted lewd pictures and some slurs on trees along the trail, not too far in from the parking lot. There were probably about 10 trees that were affected, and I did report it to the first selectman. We went back out there with some gray spray paint and covered it. But I just wanted to report that we had noticed that. otherwise, the trails out there are in good shape at the moment. Stewards have reported things are good, no trees down. We also had an opportunity to walk with Dan Donahue, and Dan's with us tonight. We walked on the 23rd with Dan, and talked a little bit about the forest management plan that Conwood had created for us and whether or not we wanted to move forward on some of their recommendations in light of the fact that DEEP is offering some grant funding to municipalities regarding forest resiliency, and whether or not we would want to pursue those grants to do some forest practices as well as remove some invasives. So,
I have a
yeah.
comment about that just quickly because it's
Yeah.
news. It's new to me, but I'm actually working with Jane Seymour at Deep, and I'm doing Valley Falls. They are using this forest resiliency grant.
Mhm.
So, and they've had the foresters come through and they've done that part, but I'm doing the bird and habitat part. So that's part of the plan is they want to know also about in the grant resiliency for habitat.
Mhm.
And so yeah, I'm actually currently I have to get up really early and go and listen to birds in 6 different locations throughout the park. And I actually got woodcock. So the woodcock is there. But yeah, so she was just giving me some insight on what's going what the practice is, like the procedures of going through and getting this grant and what the grant requires. And it's really interesting. I can tell you more once I do more, but she said they really were stressing also the habitat resiliency part. What are we doing for habitat resiliency or restoration? She said that was a big component of this, the management plan for that grant. So it's a heads up on that. We might have to do a survey. I mean, we could start now. Doesn't have to, but looking at different locations, like I've got some field locations, open space near water in the forest itself, trying to break up the different habitats that are available and then what's there.
So thank you for that, Heather. In the Conwood plan, some of the recommendations they made, like on the Knowlton Preserve, was a half-acre opening for wildlife. And we talked about that when we were out there. We talked with Dan, and Dan's here today as well. Dan, if you want to speak up, feel free. That a half an acre, first of all, a half an acre is probably not a very effective area for wildlife habitat. That you probably wouldn't even get enough sun coming in to make that worth your while for any kind of regeneration. And then the other thing was just generally speaking, whether or not we really wanted to do any forest practices at this point. The other part to that, excuse me, was on the Talmadge side was to do some forest thinning. And when we really looked together at both parcels, we talked about whether or not we really want to start to do anything there, that there's nothing really forcing us to do it. We're not managing things for timber products. Primarily, the property is for passive recreation and for wildlife. And I think when I originally suggested that we look into this grant, it was because it was an opportunity to get some funding to remove invasives. But the catch to that with this grant is you can't just request funding for invasive removal. You have to do some other type of associated forest practice, like a thinning or a wildlife opening, to be able to get funding for the invasive removal. And while we were out there, we're just really kind of questioning whether or not we really needed to do anything out there at this point. There's nothing forcing us to do a thinning at this point, that there's other areas that are surrounding these two parcels right now that have been recently logged, and that there's probably some new habitat being created because of that. We also talked about the fact that these two parcels are part of a larger core forest with Yukon's moss forest, and that there was a lot of value in perhaps not intruding in on what's already pretty intact. So go ahead, Heather. I see your hand up.
Okay, so right before this meeting, which is why I was late, I was actually in one of our deep master woodland classes for young forests and biodiversity. And there were some forest management plans in there that I think they're really trying hard to get out into the public as an alternative to just leaving stands forever, like in perpetuity, and managing it in a way that doesn't always have to be for a timber harvest or any market trees. It could be just for habitat. And we're losing our young forests. We have, stands of forests that, are 100 years old, and they're pretty homogeneous. And they're trying to encourage the forest resiliency by doing some stewardship management to prevent and reduce the loss of species. There's 50 species that are at risk of going extinct if we don't do something about encouraging successional and young forests, and just forests that are diverse, not just in, insect and animal species, but also in trees and shrubs. And, the canopy isn't just all, like pole trees. It's got some age and diversity in there. So that is, I actually saved a bunch of the graphics that they had, because I was like, oh, this is kind of cool and maybe something we would look at as a management plan, especially if this grant is focused on resiliency. So I literally got out of that meeting right before I got to here, so I didn't have time to prepare anything. But this one focused a lot on woodcock and New England cottontail habitat, but those two species, anything we do for them is going to help all these other species, these birds and migratory and other things. Obviously, everything's connected, but I will put something together and share it for next time. But yeah, it was pretty cool. And
Is there a
something to look
minimum
at.
opening? Is there, for example,
Yeah,
for
a half acre is definitely not enough. It's definitely not enough, because you're not going to get the sun in there or the space to have some successional and young forest growth. Um, if you were talking about specifically the New England cottontail, they were like looking at, because they're more of a woodsy thing, but even that edge, oh no, it was for woodcock. They had some really great information on woodcock that would benefit other birds and species as well. But that you have that open space for the display, but you need coverage, successional forest, young forest, about 100 meters around that open space, and then the regular, an older forest behind that, because they utilize all of those spaces throughout their life cycle that they're here. And the other species do too, obviously. So I do have data on that, like how much space is, like what would the minimum be to be beneficial, or anything smaller, you're wasting your time. So, yeah, like I said, I literally got done with that meeting at 7 o'clock. So I will share that information.
Thank you. Anybody else have some thoughts or comments? So the other thing too that I think we were concerned about is whenever you start taking machinery into an area, you have to create skid roads, and you have to create a landing. And, when you do that, there's an increased risk of having invasives come in as well as the trees you're trying to regenerate. And how much resources do we have to manage this going forward? So that was another concern, because although there are some areas with invasives, in general, the Knowlton property and the Talmadge property are in fairly good shape. They're not, they're probably manageable at this point. But when you start opening things up, you're going to have to battle things a little bit harder. So that was another concern, as we were walking.
They actually did talk about that tonight too. Best practice is managing the invasives before a harvest or thinning and
Mhm.
then after.
Mhm.
Because, yeah, obviously, which is then, it sounds like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. But it's also more time and labor and expense to do that too.
Mhm. Yeah, I don't know how much the grants would allow for you to hire people to come in to do the removal, the invasive
Yeah,
removal.
I don't know that either.
Yeah. I mean, once the grant comes out in June, we can look at it in more depth too to see what it actually says in detail. Um, but those were, some of our thoughts as we were walking. Dan has been involved in forestry for many, many years. And certainly has some perspectives on that as well. So I don't know if Dan, if you wanted to share that, you're welcome to. If not, that's okay too.
Sure, I would just point out that the motivation behind many of these proposals is early successional habitat. That's the terminology that's most commonly used. And if you look at an aerial or a satellite image of the area around Knowlton property and the Talmadge Preserve, you'll see there's lots of early successional habitat, but there's hardly any core forest. So, early successional habitat is very important, of course, but I think the the issue that's being missed by the fervor of the grant making bodies is that sometimes the best thing to do in a core forest is nothing. And I would, reiterate what Kathy was saying. There's concerns about opening up these interior forests to disturbance. There's, in my opinion, perhaps limited capacity to improve habitat for one or two species of critters on this scale. So this is something we can talk about on and on, I suppose. But in my opinion, and I've managed many timber harvests over the decades, places in the landscape that have not been subject to timber harvesting and are therefore not overrun with invasive species and are part of an area that is a relatively contiguous interior forest habitat, warrant some consideration as well.
Yeah, this is a hard thing, to decide as stewards of these properties is, are there areas that are, if we had a lot more forest that we were managing, if we had thousands of acres and we could say, okay, we're going to do, a clear cut in, 10 acres of that so that it becomes early successional, which might have a lot more impact than if we're creating an opening that's an acre and we're having to, depending on where that's going to be within the forest, creating a lot of roads, skid roads and landings and so on. So it's a tough one. It's a real tough one. Um, you
I,
know,
Kathy, I would add that, the purpose of the acquisition of these properties by the town of Willington was
Mhm.
not to do sustainable forestry or biodiversity conservation. It was for passive recreation and for wildlife habitat, quite simply. And so, based on that, it doesn't mean that, every piece of forest land out there has to serve the function of one thing or another. And in this particular case, I think that you undertake a silvicultural program over a period of time. It's a big responsibility. There's a lot of work involved, and I'm not sure that the town really has devoted the kind of resources that are necessary, and and therefore, it's probably not a good match right now.
Any other thoughts from other folks? Jackie, you know, your background, do you have some ideas on this?
My biggest conflict is, I guess, with the invasive plants that would come in after doing a early successional harvest. And personally, I don't think it's justified to use chemical control. Weighing the pros and cons of creating this habitat and then using chemicals. It just doesn't balance out for me. But yeah, that's my 2 cents.
Anybody else want to weigh in on this? Paul, Allie, Laura? Thoughts?
At the moment.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm sure
Well, this isn't the necessarily end of the discussion on this, you know. Go ahead, Paul. Did you want to say something?
Well, okay, I guess especially hearing what Dan and Jackie had to say, you know, like I I think we have to look at this very carefully, especially because it seems like Conservation Commission has a lot of things on its plate. And, you know, like we have to think about our capacity. So what would the benefit be even if everything went well?
Mhm. And there's, you know, I'm just going to add too, because there's also a move afoot to have more natural areas and then just allow forests to kind of mature in a natural process, because there's also value. It's long term, but we don't have a lot of what people consider, you know, old growth characteristics in forests either. So one could also say that if that was our philosophy regarding not only this area, but even Fenton Ruby Park, that there's a benefit to that perhaps in the future. So it's complex. You know, if we didn't have invasive species, it would be a lot easier, I think. So, all right. I guess unless there's any more discussion, we'll kind of leave that open at this point. And when the grant proposal RFPs come out, we can kind of look at that as well and just see if there's anything else that we want to consider. Does that seem fair?
Mhm.
Okay, thanks. Thanks for your discussion on this. Let's see. And then also under Knowlton Preserve and Talmadge, Connecticut Forest and Parks Association has requested rerouting the Nipmuc Trail through the southern portion of the Talmadge property. Let me bring up the reroute and I'll screen share it with you. Oh, let's see. I gotta go back here. Share my screen. Can you see this?
Not yet. Yes.
Not, yes. Can
Yes.
everybody see this picture of the map?
Yep.
Okay, so what we're seeing here, this on the right-hand side, this is the southern portion of the Knowlton property, and then this is where my cursor is right now. This is the northern portion of the Talmadge, and this right here, that's not in green, is the southern portion of the Talmadge Trail. So this is what Connecticut Forest and Parks sent us. This trail over here in blue, right here, is the Nipmuc Trail, the blue trail that passes through this is the Yukon property here, this stretch. And what's happened is over in this area here, beavers have dammed up some small streams and they cannot get through here anymore on the Nipmuc Trail. And they've tried to consider other options. And what they finally decided was they talked to Yukon, and Yukon was agreeable to allowing them to reroute the trail right here in orange. And they're proposing to come on to our portion of the Talmadge right in this corner, and then back onto the Yukon property. and then come on to the town's Talmadge property right about here. This in the dotted line here that you can't see much of right on the side, but this is that loop trail, this Split Rock Trail on the Talmadge. And they're proposing to come off the Yukon property and connect with our spur trail and then cut out this way to Mason Road. And then they would go down Mason Road to 44 with the Nipmuc, and they would have people walk along the road to connect again down here. So that's what they're proposing. Claire Kane got in touch with me. She's their trails director and was asking if the town would allow them to connect to the spur trail right here and then add a little extra trail going out this way. So I did send this to you a couple of weeks ago. This is the parking lot up here, if that helps too, with people orient to where this is. But this is the Split Rock Trail right here on our property that has the loop on this part of it. Anybody have some initial reaction?
I mean, they're not making a lot of changes, you know, as far as going along the Split Rock for most of it. That's on our property.
Mhm.
I guess the top part north of the Moss Forest, that would be a new trail up there in that upper corner.
Yeah, would start, their new trail would start here. This is the blue trail now. So instead of going south, it would take a turn east. Excuse me, yeah, east, and then it would go cut through Yukon property. This would all be new, the orange trail. It
Mm.
would come on to our property right here in this corner.
And
And
that would be
then
a new trail.
and back out, yeah, to Yukon's property here. I don't know, they supposedly flagged this, loosely flagged it. I have not been out there to look at it, so I'm not sure why they chose this path. But what they're asking of us is if they do this, if they can connect onto the town's property. I mean, we already have an agreement with them that they have part of the Blue Trail follows the Knowlton Trail up here. I'm way off screen now, but if you go to the northern part of the Knowlton, which I can't show you with this map, but as you know, the Blue Trail cuts across from Marsh Road and then hits Mason Road and then goes on to the Yukon property. But
But they wouldn't be blazing a new trail on ours. They're just connecting to.
they would just really be connecting. There would be a little bit of a new trail right here, Heather.
Right.
And
Yep.
then here would be a new trail out to Mason Road.
Okay.
Yeah. But for the most part, they would follow this. I asked them different questions. I said, you know, who's responsible for maintaining that part of the
I was
trail?
just gonna ask.
They have trail stewards that would do that. They would also be responsible for marking, like putting signage where there's a connection here so that it would show that they would show a map right about here that would show that the Blue Trail continues this way. And also they would put one somewhere around here so that people would know to stay on the Nipmuc, they would go this way instead of going up the loop trail that way.
I mean, it would be helpful to have additional stewardship there. I mean, I don't think we could say no to that. I guess just as long as everything's clearly marked.
Would we need to have some additional signage of the Split Rock Trail to distinguish it from the Nipmuc?
That would probably be right here. You know, they would
Yeah.
put up some kind of a signage that shows the
Split
Split Rock
Rock.
Trail going that way and then, you know, the Blue Trail going this way
And the Split Rock also.
and the Split Rock. So we would probably have blazes here that were two color. So it'd be blue with, I believe this is yellow right now, the Split Rock. So it'd be like blue and yellow along here. And they would, you know, they would do the work to cut the trail, obviously through Yukon and these portions here. They'd have a work party to do that. Any other questions on that? I had asked Claire more recently why they didn't decide to, as up here in this area here, that we have the Talmadge Spur Trail, and it goes from Mason Road, it follows, goes all the way down, and it hits the Nipmuc Trail further down. And I kind of asked her like why they just didn't choose to come up this way on that trail and then come this way, but she didn't answer me. So this is the proposal we have at this point. Anybody want to make a motion, or do you want to table this, or what's your feeling on it?
I'll say if nobody has, can think of a reason we shouldn't, then it seems to me we might as well just go ahead and make the motion tonight. I haven't
Okay.
heard any if I can't think of a reason, and I haven't heard a reason why we couldn't do this. So
Mhm.
anybody?
Believe it, yeah, I don't think it's going to impact us because it's right along our trail. Honestly, my concern was, why would you want to put a whole new trail in here when there's a trail back here on our property, the Talmadge Spur? Again, as we've been talking, we know there's impacts to core forests when you start putting trails in. It impacts wildlife and so on. So that was my question. Like, why would you really want to add a whole new trail connection there when you have something that's north of it?
I mean, I would like to know her answer on that, to be honest,
Mhm.
because our goal is to not fragment this core,
Mhm.
and why, you and I, we had talked about, the distances between trails really matters
Mhm.
to wildlife. And so I'd be interested to know why to blaze a whole new section.
Yukon doesn't have a trail through there already. That's not the Nipmuc, but another trail.
No, this is the only trail through that part of their forest right now. It's just the Nipmuc.
And my
So-
guess is why they're rerouting it is because that's along the river, and
Mhm.
they're trying to get away from, I mean, I know in some places they're trying to get away from having trails right by the river, which is always a challenge because people still,
Yeah.
but yeah, why not connect to, or reestablish an existing trail instead of starting a new one? I don't know. I would just like to know why on that part.
Yeah, I mean, I wished I had asked her that earlier. It just occurred to me later, like, why wouldn't you want to just use this trail as well on the Talmadge that's already established?
What's over
May-
there? There's no houses or anything, right?
Over here?
Yeah, right? No.
Oh, right now on this side, can you see these numbers
Yeah.
right here?
Yeah.
So this was a subdivision on the other side of Fenton River.
Oh,
Um,
okay. That's like Miller, not Miller Crossing. I don't know, Nipmuc or something.
Nipmuc, yeah.
Yeah.
Nipmuc, yeah. So there are some houses there, but one of the reasons they were really doing this, Heather, is right in this area here.
Yeah.
The beavers have dammed things up to the point where you cannot continue on the trail.
Oh, okay. Which,
Yeah.
hey, I'm okay with that. Let the beavers do what beavers do.
Yeah.
Yeah, but why not? But up here where you already have a system,
Yeah.
I
Bet
don't,
they're thinking they just wanted to get back to the actual Nipmuc as soon as they
but
could, I
that
guess.
doesn't necessarily, I don't feel like that's necessarily the best
No.
plan. Keep the forest unfragmented there.
Let me just pull up the trail. Here's the whole system. It doesn't, and you should let me see if I can get back. Sorry, wrong one. Let's see. Not sure why I'm pulling up the wrong one here. Let's see. Nope, I was trying to get the other part of the Talmadge in there. Sorry, guys. I should have tried to pull this up before I started the meeting. Let's just use this map for the moment. So this is the second part of the Talmadge here, if you can imagine it right here. This is the one that we bought more recently. This right in this white section. Can you see this?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah,
here's
yeah.
here's the established trail. So here's the blue trail, and it circles. There's a loop trail over here that Yukon maintains, and then this is the blue trail continuing on Yukon's property. This is where they want to kind of come across here. They want to come from the blue trail like this,
And
and then wind through here onto our property. So I'm just wondering why they wouldn't just want to come this way and they can go back on the split rock and go out.
Yeah. I mean, I would advocate for that rather than cutting through this area and creating, because they're really not that far apart if you're looking compared to that spur trail to where they
Mhm.
want to cut the new one. And that fragment, I don't like that at all. The trails are too close to each other as far as wildlife is concerned.
Mhm.
I think you're going to lose quite a bit of buffer. It's by orders of magnitude when you have trails like that.
Yeah, so they're
That's my opinion. But I know that, we're cognizant of fragmenting, and that just doesn't seem in line with maintaining wildlife habitat in the core forest.
yeah, I don't know if
Or
it's
as
I
core
think
as we're gonna get.
yeah, I think, that would be my thought on it too, is to try to advocate to try to minimize the number of new trails in general through this whole because the value here is this core forest, with
Yeah,
our property
absolutely. And if you
and
start breaking it up, even if it's, you know, tw you know, an acre away, it's still by orders of magnitude that buffer is now lost
Mhm.
on either side of those trails. So it, it's just a bigger impact.
Mhm. Yeah, I don't know if they were trying to continue to come down this part of it, because they wanted to be, again, have a view shed of the river. But again, if they cut off here, you're protecting this, like you said, trails sometimes are just too close to the river. Um,
Yeah, I mean, I know
maybe.
there's a movements like in some of the smaller like managed areas, land trusts, trying to
Mhm.
get these paths away from the rivers
Mhm.
and ponds and things. And yes, while it's looks nice, it does have huge impact on those spaces. So I don't know. I think it's worth asking her why not just connect farther up? Those trails are already established. I mean,
Mhm.
I feel like that little, yeah, they wouldn't even have to make that little cut in the spur, right?
Yeah.
To Mason at the other end. I don't know. I
Yeah,
think
I
it's worth
mean,
asking.
they could use this, or they could even, if they want, they could do this and then come this way.
And then just go down. Mason's
Yeah.
nice, it's scenic enough.
Yeah, it's nicer than, walking on 44.
Right.
Um,
I
yeah.
know I don't do that blue trail much because I hate that section. There's the 44. It's so awful.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, for whatever it's worth, I could not agree more. It seems to me that an existing trail is more than sufficient, and there should be probably resistance to making another trail.
Do we have some say in pushing back on that?
Oh, sure. I mean, if we
Like
say,
we
yeah,
have logical reasons why, we don't want to, you know.
we're not trying to be obstructionists. We're just trying to suggest something because remember, I mean, this is all Willington. And so as a conservation commission, we should weigh in on how to protect open space, and not fragment things. I mean, I think that we have a good rationale for discussing that with them to see if they would consider doing, using the existing trails instead.
For sure. I mean, we're just to be mindful of our forest management plan in that we're trying to maintain um more core forest. And again, there's already established trails. Why not just reroute it that way?
Mhm. Is anybody else want to weigh in on this?
I would
Great.
just say that it's a very fair thing to conference with CFPA about this because, CFPA and the town of Wellington's partnership goes back a long time. So we can talk to them and find out, why or ask why and absolutely the town is entitled to express their opinion about the proposal, in my opinion.
Thanks, Dan. Anybody else? Anybody else? Go ahead.
I'm, like with everything that's been said as far as, like limiting additional trails. So, like Kathy, you had a very legitimate question to ask CFPA. So, like, I guess ask again and stating, like what our concern is and why we don't like their original idea.
Mhm.
So I'm not hearing anything against you asking that question and giving them feedback.
Okay. Thanks, Paul. Anybody else? Okay. All right, I'll get back to her and ask her, did they consider this? And if not, would they consider using existing trails? And if she has a reason, I'll bring it back to why they want to do what they're proposing.
One more historical note that if it weren't for the town of Wellington, the north property would not be owned by the university.
That's true. That's very true.
Yep, I know. No, I mean, there's been a lot of collaboration on this, in the past. Again, we're all trying to, CFPA, trails is one of their focuses, the blue trails, and certainly they're trying to make it a good experience and so on for everybody. But they're also in the business of open space protection as well. So I'm sure that they'll be open to us, discussing this. And then
It'd be kind of nice too, like if they do close that trail, I mean, think about that would actually defragment that whole area.
Yes, if this wasn't part of the blue trail, you mean,
Yeah,
right here?
yeah. So that would actually be beneficial to not, to like go move east to for those trails here, and it might have a I mean, if people just not travel down it anymore. But
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, I think it would be good to not have that trail there and not also add a new one.
Mhm. Yeah, well, we can certainly, bring that up and see how they, what their perspective is on it. And I can bring that back to the commission next time.
Watershed protection. Just saying.
Yeah, yeah,
Could argue with them.
absolutely. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for that. All right, moving on to the next one. Let me get this stuff off the screen for you. Stop sharing. Okay. Collaborative organization, news and communication. I don't have anything really from the Wellington Public Library tonight. Parks and Rec Department, nothing that we're doing collaboratively with them at the moment unless somebody's started something that I'm not aware of. Natchog Watershed Advisory Board, we had our Clean Water Festival on May 2nd. That went very well despite the weather. We had about 125 people attend. We're going to be doing a forest workshop in collaboration with University of Connecticut's Extension Service, Tom Worthley, and Connecticut Deep. On the 3rd of June, we're going to be doing the workshop at UConn and also online. And then on Saturday, the 6th, we're going to be holding a field tour on a private property in Mansfield. A gentleman who is a member of Eastern Connecticut Forest Landowners Association. So I sent you all flyers on that. If you can, help to share that information, that would be really helpful.
Oh, Tom Worthley's doing the Yukon part.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, I highly recommend going out and doing stuff with him. He's fantastic, and he's just a great guy.
Yeah, he really is. And Frank Servo, who is the
Frank's amazing. Yeah.
he's the service forester for Eastern Connecticut, and also Nick Zito, who is the forest practitioners go-to guy.
Nick's great. He actually reviewed my forest management plan that I'm working on now. Yeah, he's great.
Good. Yeah, those are, and we're going to have somebody from NRCS as well who's going to talk about some of the funding that's available for forest landowners. So it should be a really good program. So please share the info with folks.
Yeah, for the fourth, they did do a survey recently on private landowners for forest management plans. Definitely get information on that because they are trying to secure funding to help out, small area, people who are managing their own. I don't know where that's going yet, but I did apply for that myself. But hey, anything that will help with invasives, if that's the thing, I would absolutely take that. So pay attention to what they have to say about that.
Oh, sure.
And hopefully you can sign up for it or something.
Yeah, NRCS can help to pay for forest management plans. It can help to pay for, as you're talking about, invasive removals, but typically, again, you have to have an associated forest practice like a thinning or wildlife habitat improvement, something like that. It's kind of similar to the forest resiliency grant that DEEP is giving to municipalities. But there's a lot of the focus of the reason that we're really doing this from the watershed perspective is because the importance of maintaining forests in Northeast Connecticut. We have one of the largest public watersheds in the state of Connecticut, the Natchog watershed, but also it's because we have so much forest here, and they're really protecting the streams and our aquifers. So we're really trying to partner more with private landowners to help them feel like they're better at managing and stewarding their properties, and also to encourage people to think about land conservation in the future. Protecting their forests with conservation easements, or thinking about working with land trusts to sell or donate their forest land so that it doesn't get developed. So that's all the connection with the Natchog Watershed Initiative. All right, and let's see. Ashford is doing a stream walk on June 20th at on the Mount Hope River. If you're familiar where Pompey Hollow is, the senior center, the senior housing in that area there, they're going to be doing a walk to demonstrate the importance of riparian buffers. They're going to talk about invasives and native plants. So I'll be sending out a flyer to everybody. Again, if you can share that with people who might be interested. It's not just for Ashford residents. It's open to anybody who's interested in learning more about that.
What was the date of that, Kathy?
June 20. It's a Saturday,
Okay.
and it'll be from 10 to 12. And it's free and open to the public. Town's 300th anniversary coming up in 2027. As you know, that Tessa was going to be working with Parks and Rec on the Trail Challenge. Bob's not here tonight. I had kind of hoped that I know that he was going to town meeting tonight. It doesn't look like he.
I went to the last tricentennial meeting.
Okay, yeah. How was it?
It's okay. There's only a $3,000 budget for the entire thing.
Oh,
Because
wow.
I naively raised my hand. I'm like, is that 3,000 for this fiscal year, 3 for next? No, it's for the whole thing. And they were looking at putting a plaque, like a bronze plaque on the town green, and that's about 2 grand
Yeah.
of the budget. So they talked a lot about signage, like banners and things for advertising, and we did touch a little bit on fundraising opportunities to get people to buy in, but I'm not really sure. There was a little bit of strife with some of the signage, so I kind of checked out at that point.
Okay. Thanks for that. And we had talked about from the Conservation Commission perspective of maybe doing something along Moose Meadow Road and kind of highlighting the park and some of the history along the road. I know that you initially had said that that might be something you might be interested in working on, Heather. I don't know where you're at with that.
Yeah, didn't have an opportunity to bring it up at the last meeting because Bob and I were both sitting there and they were involved in other stuff. But I can't commit to anything on that until after July because of Master Woodlands. So, but yeah, I definitely that'd be fun to do.
Well, don't feel any pressure. I just want to, throw that out to you. Tessa's going to be, in terms of doing something from the conservation side with the trail challenge, getting people to get out and get on the trails. That can be our conservation focus as well. So
Yeah. Mark Palmer was there, but I did not have a chance to talk to him because he's another one to touch base with as far as the historical part of that area. But I will get to him at some point.
Okay, thanks. Connecticut Land Conservation Council, nothing that I know of going on with that organization at the moment. Yukon, Connecticut Trail Finder. Paul's been working with Laura Kelly, as I had mentioned earlier, and, adding the trails that are at Fenton Ruby Park. Obviously, if we're going to be adding the Talmadge trails, like Split Rock, we might have to wait on that till we figure out what we're doing with Connecticut Forest and Park. Paul, do you have any other stuff that you want to talk about regarding the Trail Finder?
No, it's excuse me. So Fenton Ruby isn't on Connecticut Trail Finder yet, right?
No.
So I can work on that.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Yeah, once we nail down the whole thing with Burma, the old Burma Road too, right?
Right.
No. It just occurred to me, and I'm sorry, I hadn't thought about this. We talked about calling this the Pettix Trail, getting up to the Pettix property on the Burma Road. Is that going to get confusing with the fact that that's actually Burma Road? I guess not if we're marking it and we're, giving it a name on a map.
It does curve at the end.
True. Yeah. Well, that's active. Believe it or not, Burma Road does that.
Does it turn too?
Yeah, it turns right there and it follows up until it hits the Ashford border and becomes Lustig Road. So, but yeah. All right. I don't mean to, we already decided that, so I'm not going to bring that up. Sorry. Trail steward recognition. Laura's been working a lot on hat logos. Let me show you what she's come up with. Okay, let me share this. All right. So this has been the progress. Thanks, Laura, for working on this. So this is what we started with the owl logo that we have for the Conservation Commission. And then we decided this was going to be very difficult to have embroidered because it's so thick and dark. So Laura came up with a new owl. And then I had asked her what it would look like if we did the Willington in all caps as well. So she designed this lovely patch. So this is the third rendition.
Full transparency. The last one, I described the middle one in ChatGPT, and it created the last one. So.
Oh, that's great. That I like it. Hey, you know what? Work smarter, not harder.
Yeah, I just, I couldn't remember what I had used to make the middle one. I was like, didn't I use Canva? And I go back and nothing was there. And in the end, it was like, oh, let me
On
just,
the Canva Pro, there's AI options now that help you along. So work
yeah,
smarter, not harder.
I don't have Canva Pro anymore since I left Eastern. So that may be my issue. I'm back to just the free one.
No,
So
I like it. I think it looks good.
any other comments on this one? If we did this, I did contact Rainbow Graphics in Manchester to find out like approximately what this would cost and can they do, for example, can they do a patch and then sew the patch onto a hat? And they can do that. If we went with something like this graphic, that would be literally sewn onto the hat, like a cotton hat, it would be $16 per hat. If we went with something like a patch like this, and then that was sewn onto the hat, it would be $22 per hat. So, Laura, do you know, I'm not, sure the background color with this patch. I'm not sure what the options would be from Rainbow Graphics. She just kind of gave me an idea of from the thread count what the price would be. So I don't know how people feel about the background color or what kind of color hat you'd want to put this on, but if we go with the patch. What are your thoughts, guys? Y'all sleeping now? It's bedtime because the owl's out. Do you want to go with something that's sewn directly onto the hat? Do you want to go something more like with a patch that's sewn onto a hat? You have a preference for the
Could
owl?
you do the design that's on the patch, but have it directly sewn on, embroidered instead of a separate patch?
So just like where it says Trail Steward, like here.
Yeah, but not the patch part. Like do what you would do in the middle one, but with the right one design. With
I
the
could
owl,
ask.
the owls turned out and facing you on the. But yeah, I didn't realize that thread count might be a difference. Yeah.
Yeah, in terms of if you're going to have it embroidered, it goes by thread
Yeah.
count. Yeah. Yeah. I'm just wondering if, because we've designed this as a patch kind of from the start, something more round. I was looking at some hats that I have that are embroidered. Typically, if they're embroidered right on the hat, it's not so circular. It's kind of more spread out, like more of an arc, a larger arc on the hat. So I don't know if we kept it this tight. And we just wanted to have the wording and everything on the hat rather than, stitched as a patch. I'm not sure how that would come out. I could ask her.
I say, can they take like the second and the third option, and then kind of explain, I mean, can they then create
Something flatter,
their
like,
own? Yeah, something.
yeah, I could
Like
I
a
could ask
hybrid
her.
of those.
Yeah, hybrid. So do people have a preference on the owl itself? Which owl you prefer? They're both great horned owl. They're all great horned owls.
If we're thinking of
Or
thread
barred owl gets no love.
I like the patch.
You like the patch?
I like the patch.
I like the patch too.
There's
I'm
only
just
so many of us in this meeting, you know?
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
I like the patch too.
I also like the patch.
okay.
Yeah, me
Okay.
too.
Okay. Do you want to just have a patch made and sewn onto a hat? Is that what you were saying?
Yeah,
I
because
like
how
that
many
idea.
hats are we talking?
How many what?
Hats.
How many hats are we talking?
I counted 8 stewards.
Oh, okay.
We probably could go with 10 hats just in case we have a steward
Yeah.
in the future.
Not bad.
Yeah, the price, I mean, it's probably going to be for 10 hats, it's going to be, with the patch, it would be $220 for 10 hats. But people are saying just have a patch made and have it sewn onto the hat. Is that what I'm hearing?
I agree with that.
Okay,
Yep.
Sounds good.
okay. I mean, what's nice about the patch, if in the future you wanted to do something with this, you could have it, the same logo put onto a t-shirt or something. Not that we necessarily would be giving t-shirts and stuff to trail stewards, but if you wanted to do something else here, maybe as a fundraiser, whatever, who knows? But I
Go
like the
school
patch
and
too.
go old school and get jean jackets and have a big thing in the back.
Oh, yeah. This could be
Bedabble it.
a Girl Scout badge.
There you go. There you
That's what it
go.
looks like.
It does. Now that you say that, that's all I see. Who said that?
Well, I can ask her though. I'll ask her if we took the same design and we didn't make it as a patch, if she could show us what it would look like if we kind of stretched it out across a hat a little bit. And then I can, then we can come back next time and make a decision. How's that sound?
That sounds good.
Okay. We have money in the budget and we'd have to encumber that money by the end of June to be able to use what's in the budget right now. Otherwise, it's going to go into next year's budget. So, all right, I'll come back with some options. All right. Moving on, so I don't lose y'all. Support for farmland preservation, proposed farm ordinances. It's still on, we're still obviously waiting for things to finish up with the town budgets. And once things are passed, we can move forward to, get back with Board of Finance and the Board of Selectmen and move this to a town meeting. So just kind of waiting for that process to take its course. Town development. The only thing I have to add here would be the Inland Wetlands Commission approved a truck wash across from Love's Travel Stop. I don't know if anybody had been following that, but they approved that. I guess they did a site walk after they had a public hearing on it. So that's something that will move forward to planning and zoning next. Open space opportunities. Does anybody have any new ideas? Anything that's come up? Anything you've seen on the open market? Dan, I see your hand raised. Oh, no, I'm sorry. That was my cursor. Sorry.
Hey, I don't know if I asked this before, but the Ruby Road Sadlac property,
Mhm.
is that ever been an option to acquire?
I don't think that I'm trying to
You know what I'm
remember.
talking about, where they were going to do the gun range?
Gun range, yeah. I don't know that it's been on the private come up like as a open market thing in
Yeah.
terms of approaching the landowner. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I know who the landowner is.
Oh, okay.
No, I mean, we all know who was associated with that Sadlac. It's
Yeah.
John Patton. So I did site walks for that property when it was being proposed for the gun range, and I also did the historical analysis of that property and worked in my firm for the archaeological analysis. And I did write a report, thought that's somewhere in public record, but it would be really a nice acquisition if we could get it. Not
Mm.
just also like the forest part, but also it could potentially very much, I recommended it to be a state archaeological preserve as well. It's
Wow.
got all of the it's got components that would go quite well with that. But I was just always curious. It's still for sale, it has been, and I'm like, if that's ever, I have no idea what their asking price is. But that's like a big wish list thing. But because I remember discussing it with Christina back when that was happening, like, because she was like, maybe we can purchase this land, but yeah, for the town.
Mhm.
I don't know.
What is it? It's like 200 acres. It's huge.
I don't know. When we surveyed it for the archaeological part, it was like 400 acres.
Oh, is it that much? Okay.
I believe so, 426. I don't know why that number's sticking in my
Oh.
head, but don't hold me on that. I don't know why but yeah.
Well, we can, certainly look into it. You're saying you think that John Patton owns that?
I think he's a part. I somehow when I was working on the Unwillington stuff,
Mhm,
his name came up as a part of that investment group that owns it, Sadlac
mhm.
or something. I don't
Okay.
know. But I don't
Okay.
know with him. So
Yeah, well, he's got several companies,
exactly. So
different
I
names.
don't know. And again, this is Unwillington and then I switched from the environmental part because I walked the property with um Don Parcell because he's a soil. We were up there because I've worked with him on soil science stuff. And there's some wetlands up there. It's quite a nice piece of property. And like I said, the historical and archaeological part also has a great footprint as far as preserving it.
Mhm.
So and Christina did mention she's like maybe we could purchase for the town, but it never, went beyond just like, hey, what if we did this?
Mhm.
I don't know. I have no
Yeah.
idea, but
y-
kind of
Well,
cool.
certainly, a letter could be sent to the owner on record,
Yeah.
just to ask if there's an opportunity to talk more about, looking at options for sale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, going up there and like it's not really that buildable friendly. There's quite a lot of ledge and slope and we when we were looking at those things, yeah, so I don't know.
Even before the gun range, I can remember back on my time on the commission, there was an application that was put in to have a retirement community built up
Yes.
there.
Yeah, like in the 90s.
Yeah, and that
Yeah.
did not get approved because there
Yep.
were issues with wetlands and other things at the
Yeah,
time.
that whole area's been perk tested and everything. Yeah, that was part of my research and that is they did deny that permit for that.
Mhm.
But it would be great for open space and yeah,
Mm.
I
Yeah,
don't
I
know.
think
I know
it's
that's
one
a
of
big
the
wish, a big wish, but
yeah, unfortunately, it unless they were willing to sell it at a bargain price, it would
I
probably
know,
be
which
several $1 million.
right, exactly. Probably not. But I
Yeah,
don't know, maybe something to work towards in the future.
absolutely. Willington Wire, Heather, you're going to be working on the article about native
Yes.
seed collecting. Okay.
Yeah, I will. I have to work I'm doing Wellington Day tables for 2 departments. So
Oh my
I
God.
plan on working on that this weekend. Jesse said the deadline is the 7th. So I have a
Okay.
little time.
If for some reason you feel like you can't make it for that issue, let me know. I can put something in. I can just use something we've done in the past as
Okay,
well
I
about
should be able to do it because I have to also do stuff for Public Works as
Oh,
well.
okay.
But most of that is like cookie cutter. But yeah, I'll let you know ASAP.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Yeah. And thank you for doing that, by the way. Open space and natural resource mapping. We talked about tabling that until this fall and winter when we have more time. Once we get through the park management plan, we can start looking at that again. Communications, there was nothing that's come in for the Conservation Commission. Under new business, had Connecticut Eco Demonstration. Paul, you were going to maybe give us a little bit of an overview on that?
Yes, and to be clear, I've always been a fan of just-in-time training, especially for technical stuff, like where computers are involved. So I just like to show people what this is about. Those of you who might not already know, uh, and without getting into too much detail. And I think the time to do a deep dive on how to use these tools should wait until we have a use for it. For example, if we're going to be setting conservation strategic goals long term, these tools, and I'll explain why, would be very useful. Or if we're determining the desirability of a specific parcel. So why don't I just start and you'll see, let me see. First, I have to share, I think.
Yeah.
I haven't done this in a while. Do-do-do-do. Okay. Can people see changing landscape within LCD?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, so I think, okay, one, uh, I'm I've been into mapping for conservation purposes for a long time. I was like the what do you call it, the mascot for Wellington land use planning because I was for a while I was the one who did the ArcGIS installs on the town machine. So I've been at it for a long time. However, I'm probably a little bit out of date right now. So there are people who might be on this call who are more current, who are quite probably more current than I am. But I'll just do as best I can. Uh, so, okay, one thing I can do is I will send out links to get here. I'll email those links out. Uh, and by the way, there are some really great tools here, and I think I guess this would be part of the Yukon Clear people. I think they've done a really good job of putting things together, which again, I was unaware because I've been out of it for about the last 10 years. So, uh, again, here we are at the Connecticut Environmental Conditions Online. By the way, I just recently learned what CT ECO stood for. Now, the reason that Kathy tasked me with this was I did attend the two Zoom webinars regarding these two tools, and you can watch the same tools. There's an opportunity. I'll send out the link to get to those classes. Oh, okay. If you can see this under National Land Cover Database and LCD classes, you can see the land cover classes, and you could just link to those and watch. I thought they got into a little bit of detail, but I thought the classes were worthwhile. Okay, so I'm now going to open up the map viewer. Hopefully, okay. This sends me to, now you'll notice, I'll just go up initially. There are other tools here besides the ones I'm talking about. I haven't tried the advanced map viewer. Sounds like it could be cool. Same with the aerial imagery viewer. But what I'm here to specifically talk about are the Long Island Sound watershed changing landscape, watershed viewer, as well as the town viewer. Now, in case anybody was unaware about how these transpired, apparently there was funding regarding Long Island Sound watershed data, and that's how these came about. Note that Connecticut is, I think, 98% in the Long Island Sound watershed. So these maps are really very relevant for us. So initially, I'm going to open up the viewer and dashboard for the town viewer. And something I should mention, the town viewer will give us Wellington data specifically, and by the way, any other town in Connecticut that you might want to check out. Whereas the watershed viewer and dashboard that's immediately above the town viewer is more about looking at this regionally. And however, this will be very useful. What we used to do when we were using ArcGIS, there's a way you can buffer, like for example, a town map that you're doing where you can not only show within the parcel boundaries, you can show, for example, 5 miles beyond the town, all the way around the town. So you can see what's going on immediately near us in Ashford or Tolland or Stafford, whatever. So both of these would be very useful. Like, for example, if we're considering picking up a parcel that's near a town boundary, a Wellington town boundary, because we can see uh, the land immediately adjacent. You can see what's going on, and you can see if, okay, right next door we have uh, open space, so that if we pick up this parcel in Wellington, they abut. So that's just one reason why having the nearby town data might be useful. I know, I think Dan's still on. Uh, Dan and Julia Rogers and I worked on putting together the strategic plan for Joshua's Trust. And by the way, we can get that data. What we ended up with for Joshua's Trust, we ended up with zones, and then you can correct me on exactly what we called them, but we had this big blob in the eastern part of the Joshua's Trust, 14 towns, uh, none of which touched Willington. But by looking at the data for the entire region, we prioritized what was in the blob, and I think the blob was in Ashford, Eastford. Let me see, Hampton, and Dan, I forget the fourth town. But in any event, because we mapped data in attempt to prioritize land within the 14-town region, we also mapped out everything that was in Willington as far as a contiguous open space, riparian zones, etc. We had, I think, 10 factors that we uh, prioritized according to what we thought was most important. So it worked out that Willington didn't have the best property in the 14 zones. However, by looking at the data we came up with for Willington, you could see where the best bits of Willington were. So these maps will show similar data to what we did for the Joshua's Trust mapping, but it will also show these factors over time between 1985 and 2023, so you can see trends. So, for example, if there's more development going on in one area of town, or if we have forest that's been untouched for the last 30 years, we can see that, okay, we might want to save what's in the untouched areas, whereas where we've had development going on, perhaps development is the right thing to going on in those areas. But okay, I'll be quiet for a second while I open this up. Okay, so now what I need to do, you'll notice that Bethel comes up first. I think that's probably, oh, Ashford would have been alphabetic. Well, okay, I'm not sure why Bethel came up first, but I'm going to zoom in so that soon I will be able to double click on the town of Willington. Okay, so you can see we've got 1985 and 2023 land cover. For this particular screen, it's showing what the trend has been. And like the good news is we've only lost, 386 acres of forest in those 38 years. You can see what the rate of development was, etc. Now, looking at the map, I'm having just a little bit of trouble here because let me see. There we go. Okay. I had to get rid of something. Okay. If you can see the layer list on the right side of your screen, you'll see all kinds of factors that can be mapped. And what you're looking at right now, I suspect is, okay, you got town stats and you've got the Long Island Sound watershed mask. Now, for example, I can bring up, let me see. Here we go. Okay. Impervious area change. Okay. And this is for Wellington. You'll see, according to the stats, impervious surface change was a total of 102 acres. The map you're seeing is not very useful, so let me do okay. Sorry, this is a lit. Okay. I will bring up, okay. 1985 impervious surface. Hopefully this will click in. I was having trouble earlier today. Response time. Oh. Okay, this is not behaving. Sorry about that. I think it might be a little bit of a response time issue with wherever this is being sourced, which I think is Yukon. But you will notice as of 1985, we had this much impervious surface around exit 71. Which is, I've always thought of sort of a problem area. And if I bring up this is not giving me what I expected. I'm sorry. So, okay, I'm not doing a very good job of this demo because I seem to be having technical issues, and I'm not sure if it's at my end or not.
Paul,
Okay.
I'm wondering if it has to do with Zoom because the frames per minute on Zoom are different than when you're just looking at your own screen.
Okay.
Just a thought.
Okay. Well, unfortunately, you won't be getting impressive visuals, but if you note on the right-hand side where you have the layer list, you have a lot of different factors which could be very important when considering what we want to prioritize for conservation. Forest change by town. You might want to protect areas where you've had a lot of forest change when you've lost a lot of change. Let me see. If we were saying this, the percent impervious between 1985 and 2023 would be fairly impressive. Okay. It's coming up with what we want for statistics, but it's not mapping what we want to see. Let me see. I'll see if we can get riparian zones. Okay, I'm sorry. This is not working well. What I'd recommend, I'll send out links. If anyone is immediately, oh, look, okay, now it's starting to come up. if anyone is interested in taking a deeper dive into this, and I know this was working better when I was doing a standalone, I can do, like a one-on-one with anyone who's interested. I'll also send out the links so you can get to this stuff. Personally, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this until we know that we have some sort of a project, whether it's, like specific parcels that we're considering looking at, or if, for example, we're putting together a strategic plan for the town regarding conservation. And this data would be extremely useful. I see. So I guess partly because of the problems I'm having, I hope I've just gotten across this is extremely useful data. I'm really impressed as someone who's been involved with mapping that they've put this together and made this available for like everybody in Connecticut. I don't think we should spend a lot of time looking at this now until we have a reason why some of us at least might want to like spool up and become more familiar with the tools when we're working on a particular project.
Mhm.
So I guess I just asked, does anyone have any questions at this point? Yes, Kathy.
Paul, if you're concerned about a particular area, for example, around that exit,
Yep.
in terms of the change in impervious cover, can you actually kind of map out a certain block of area, or is this only for the whole town?
Oh, well, okay. The statistics that you see on the left, I believe they're going to be for
You can't
oh,
like make a shape file that just like includes a certain area to look at how much change of impervious cover, for example, has happened at that exit. And the reason I'm asking is I know there's studies that have been done that once you exceed in 12% impervious cover in like a watershed area, it can affect water quality. So I was just kind of curious because Roaring Brook is up in that area. So I didn't know if you can kind of narrow it down to like smaller watersheds is, I guess, my question.
I'd have to get back to you on that.
Okay.
Kathy, I'll look at my notes too because I attended the workshop for this at Connecticut Land Council. And like Paul said, I've worked in ArcGIS. It's back in the day. And
Yeah.
I was so impressed with what they've put together that is open for
Mm.
anybody to use. And I was playing with it and just like astounded, but I think it's worth playing around with and to answer some of those questions that you have. But like I said, it's new for me too to play, but I was playing with it. It's really a cool resource.
Yeah.
There's so much information there. I was just like blown away at what's available and what you can look at, especially the changes over time to do planning going forward, town
Yeah.
planning, whatever, anything.
Yeah. Well, again, I think when we look at the town as a whole, I mean, there's been, a couple hundred acres that have actually, was it 100 extra acres that have been developed? I'm trying to remember again, going back to that, like the change from 85 to 2023. How many total acres was there, the change? So 3.4% of the town is developed, is what it's saying at the moment.
Right.
Okay. But how much is forest cover? Can we look at that? I'm kind of curious. What is the forest cover in the town? Because it might be, open land fields that aren't developed, but forest change. Yeah, let's see. Oh, we're
If you want.
81%. Wow. Okay. Good to know.
Okay, so we lost 386 acres in
Mm.
38 years.
Hmm.
if I'm reading this right.
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing for the change, yeah. Uh, hmm, Very cool. And then, so you've got forest cover, riparian land cover. Is it 300 feet riparian buffer? Is that the only riparian width that they can do?
So I'm not sure.
Okay.
I
If
think so, but
if if you go
let
down to
me
the change, yeah.
let me see.
Mm. Hmm. Okay. Oh, no town selected. Hmm.
So I don't know if there's a delay involved here again.
Okay. And again, some of the issue with this tonight might be that we're trying to do this over Zoom. Because I've run into this problem in other groups where if you do something that refreshes the screen, um, it's delayed on Zoom.
Okay. Well, let me work on this offline
Okay.
and I'll try to come back with some answers.
Yeah,
The-
I'll look at my notes too from the workshop that I did on this for clear and because I was playing with it at the conference,
Uh-huh.
specific the Wellington stuff, but yeah, I will look. It's just so much information. It's really
Are you able to check, like, look at ag? I know it might not, bring it up, but I'd be curious to try looking at the change in agricultural. So we lost 73 acres
Right.
of,
yeah, they actually mentioned Kathy at that conference that for impervious surface, 10% is the tipping point of where the changes affect water quality
okay.
for the watershed. They did bring that up during that. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, the watershed is different than town boundaries, though.
yeah,
Because, for example, the town of Wellington is in two of the major watersheds. One is a
right,
drinking water watershed, one's the Willimantic, the other's the Fenton.
right.
Yeah, that's why I was asking, like, if you're looking at a smaller area, like a smaller watershed, let's say of a certain part of Roaring Brook that's up by the highway, if we keep adding more impervious surface by having more development all at that one area, are we going to impact the water quality of Roaring Brook in that area?
Right, yeah, I
Hmm.
don't remember the parameters, like how narrow it gets, whether
Okay.
it's, 300 feet or if it's less than that. Again, this was like an hour-long workshop,
Oh,
and
yeah.
this is such a deep dive, as Paul can tell you, into this program. But it's really cool. It kind of reminded me of when Google Earth was first launched, and I just wanted to like dive into it. And this is just as this is amazing.
Yeah, this is great. Does it, with this particular map, can you show parcel boundaries on this map as well, or just the overall land cover?
Hmm.
Again, we can, people can play with it at their leisure, but it's fascinating, like how much is at your fingertips now, and it's helpful for land use planning for sure.
So I know there are other tools at CT Eco for looking at parcels. I'm not sure if we could look at parcel boundaries as part of this. I don't know, Heather, do you remember?
I don't remember, but there's the larger um resource of Clear, and there's a lot of stuff, associated with that, the Yukon Clear, and there's also the magic stuff, but I haven't had a chance, like I said, there's so much to dive into this and look at that.
Mhm.
It was a little
Yeah.
overwhelming at first because like the amount of information I was like, holy cow, there's
A lot of data.
Yeah. What is it? We're looking at one town right now. Can you look at overall, for example, in the whole Long Island Sound watershed area? Like, does it allow you to see what the changes have been over time for for that whole watershed?
So I believe that's where, if you like, right, we've been looking at the town viewer.
Yeah.
There's also the watershed viewer.
Okay.
So if you wanted to look at a larger scale, picture view of, like the mostly the same, but at least very similar data,
Mhm.
you'd use this.
Yeah, they showed us that but it was like the entire New England watershed, like, from Vermont down to Long Island Sound, and it was really cool. But there's different, yeah, like Paul's showing different map viewers that show, yep, exactly that.
Okay. Yeah.
And you can still drill down in this.
Yep.
And
I
uh,
was okay.
just
It's very interesting. It
Yeah,
just,
with time and and some effort, the applications for this are
yeah.
astounding, like, to yeah.
Oh, yeah. This is looking at one watershed. It's looking in Rhode Island, for example, on the left-hand side, what it's looking at. So if I wanted to go in and just look at the Natchog watershed, I could do that with that same mapping program, obviously, if I had the right. Okay, thank you. This is really cool.
sure. And lastly, the thing I'd point out is that where we went to, click on the watershed viewer and the town viewer, there are a bunch of other mapping tools there that would be worth checking out. And I'm going to be looking at those, after I get done trying to put together a sheet of all the links for this and come up with some questions, come up with answers for some of the questions that came up tonight.
Okay, thank you.
It's a lot to absorb.
Yeah, but they're wonderful tools, to, like we said, when we're starting to do our natural resource inventory and open space protection plan, that's going to go in the plan of conservation and development. These might be very helpful tools.
Right.
So thank you.
Sure.
Does anybody else have any questions or comments? Allie, in your work, do you use these types of tools at all?
So I use one of the other mappers, the advanced map viewer for like just general wetlands mapping, and some soil data that comes up from this. I don't use this side of it though.
Okay, great. No. And okay, moving on to our next meeting is going to be June 17th. How would people feel about having an in-person meeting for that instead of a Zoom meeting so we can go over the park management plan? Do you think you'd want to do it in person or online?
I'm okay with in person.
Anybody else?
I'm sorry, for which month would that be?
That would be June, Paul. It would be June 17th. Would you be available to do an in-person meeting?
Okay, I'm in a wilderness first responder class for 2 weeks, so I won't be around either way.
Okay.
Sorry.
Either way, that's okay. All right, thanks. I think Jackie had to log off. So, oh no, Jack, you're still
I'm
here.
still here.
Sorry, I see
Yeah,
you
that
now.
works for me to be in person. Yep.
Okay, and Heather said yes. Laura? Oh, you're muted, Laura.
Yeah, just realized I had muted myself. Yeah, in person's fine.
Okay, all right. Well, I'll set up a meeting, the meeting room for us. Then we can, sit and talk about the management plan, and I'll send that out to everybody. Anything else anybody wanted to bring up tonight before we adjourn? Thanks for hanging in there so long. All right. Okay, good to see everybody. Have a good month. And thanks again to everybody who's volunteering to work on some projects. I really appreciate all your work. Okay, have a good one.
Good night.
Good night.
Night.